Right, good morning. Today I've got a full house here. We've got John, Jaco, and Janno, and today we are going to be talking about pallets. So I think, John, you start with just quickly tell us who you are and then who these two distinguished gentlemen are that we've got here.
So my name is John. I work for the CRI, and my role is the packaging specialist. So I handle cartons, pallets, strapping, and obviously the logistics thereof from South Africa to wherever our markets are. And I've invited Janno from Morreto Trade and Jaco from Everseason to come and talk to us today about pallets, just to give an industry perspective of some of the challenges and some of the opportunities that are happening in the pallet industry at the moment. So CRI are not endorsing either of their two brands, but it's more of a general conversation around general issues that are being faced in the pallet industry.
Okay. So I think with before we go to the manufacturer, I think from an export point of view, I'd like to sketch a problem first before we get to solutions and things like that. What is problems that exporters and importers have with pallets?
Good morning. I would say the main issue would be basic quality of pallets. We need to get the proper product into the market, and that's including the packing material, the pallets. We work with a lot of clients, especially the guys in North America and in UK. They are very concerned about the quality of the pallets. Most of the pallets go into racking. It's a health and safety issue. So this stuff can't fall out the racks and stuff. So I think that's where the main issue started for us a few years ago, where we had to go and look at the quality of the pallets we used. We worked a lot with Morreto Trade on getting the correct pallet into the market without getting any issues. And of course, the main thing of anything and everything technical post-harvest on citrus is anything that goes wrong, the farmer has to pay for that. So we need to reduce the cost of anything that's going wrong in the market.
Can an exporter or a pack house buy any pallet? Can you go down to the local supermarket and say, I need a couple of pallets?
Not really, no. No, we can't just take any pallet. But we are allowed to, within certain guidelines, to design our own or make our own. And I think that's also there's so many different pallets on the market because, like us, a lot of guys just go out, design their own stuff, or they steal ideas somewhere else and they think it's going to work. But it takes time to figure out exactly, is it going to work? Is it going to work to all markets? Going to the EU is not the same as going to the US. So there's a lot of work going in the background, and I think Janno will know a lot about all the background work that goes into getting the correct citrus pallet. But you're sort of allowed to make your own. But I think we're done. We don't have to do that anymore. I think there's a lot of work that's been done by CRI and other guys in the industry that shows us what we can and can't use. We don't have to go out there and figure out something new.
Janno, and from a pallet manufacturer's point of view, so if you can almost do anything the way that it works for you, if let's say I'm a pack house, I need 1 million pallets for and I can have anything, it must be quite a bit of a headache for you because you must be able to make all of them and keep stock of all of these different ones.
Yes, there are definitely several times of the year where we make a lot of different types of pallets, especially where the different seasons transition from grapes to apples and pears towards citrus. And there's different areas like Hex, which have the Hex school pallets. That's their industry. Then there are certain markets that demand their own pallets on the other side, like Lidl or Barma. Then you get the citrus side where we design pallets for the industry, which is we making the most there. And I think that is a good job that John has also been working for us as an industry. So it is demanding in the different types of pallets that we need to do.
we've done quite a bit of work. So there's a lot of protocols surrounding pallets, just in terms of a biosecurity thing. They need to be heat treated and all this kind of thing. So you cannot just take the pallet that's in your backyard and
There's a lot of phyto risk going to other markets, and I think the one that has done the most work on that is the guys going to the US. Summer Citrus has a team of guys that make sure that the pallets are in good order. There's a whole audit system in place to go to the pallet manufacturers, see what they do, and make sure that the phyto risk is sorted out going to the US.
I think there's also date issues there. You can't have a pallet older than 2 months.
2 months, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that's actually an important point you raised there, because, so for instance, with normal citrus pallet, guys will use like last season's pallet, whereas for the US, if it's older than 2 months, they're not allowed to. So it's definitely something I think we have to think about.
But yeah, so what the pack houses do, they order just in time, which makes our lives also a bit more difficult.
Okay.
But so a lot of people, I just want to take a step back for regarding the phyto. We get audited by the Department of Agriculture, and the people would go back and say, what does the Department of Agriculture say? But the Department of Agriculture only audit us in terms of phyto standards, and there's no pallet standards that gets done or prescribed by the Department of Agriculture. And that is where this work that we're doing here is of so much importance.
Okay, so I think, John, tell us about the work that you guys are doing and why we've got these two gents here.
Yeah, so from a citrus perspective and from CRI perspective, the issue that I've seen is that as both Jaco and Janno have pointed out, there are just so many different pallet bases that are currently being used, and we have real concerns about the effect that pallet base is going to have on the stability of the product being sent. And of course, there's also, in the back of our minds, there's that health and safety question as well. So, if we're wanting to put South African citrus's best foot forward, we want to make sure that every pallet gets to its destination in the best possible condition, and that the ease of handling is premium. So, the cold stores overseas, they're not going to have a problem handling our pallets. It's going to be easy for them. It's going to fit into their racking. They're not going to have a problem because we want to be the premier brand. We last season we became the biggest exporter of citrus in the world, and we want to be the best producer. We want to be the best exporter in terms of quality as well.
And an important thing that people forget about is that it's not just about the stability. It's also about, and you mentioned quality, is that a pallet still needs to allow air to go through.
Exactly.
Because you can have a solid wood pallet, but then your bottom few layers of fruit is probably never going to get cold.
And it has to be easily handled as well. And I think, what's making our lives challenging at the moment is that our pallets are handled a lot. I mean, general estimates, you're probably handling a pallet about 3 to 4 times in a pack house. Maybe
is that just the pallet itself or fully packed pallet?
Fully packed pallet. Okay. 4 to 5 times in a pack house. Maybe 5 to 6 in the cold store. Gets put on a vessel and then it gets to Europe, and then sometimes they stand in Europe for over 2 months. Sometimes they move straight away. But if they're going to Canada versus the US or versus the EU or Russia, then the journeys are very different, and there's a lot of different things happening to them, which we have to try and account for.
So that's 4 to 5 times in the pack house, another 5 to 6 times in a cold storage environment.
If you're lucky, yeah.
If you're lucky, so that, let's call it average of 10 moves of a pallet before it's loaded on a ship. So, Janno, if you look about that as from a manufacturing point of view, that must make your life quite difficult in making sure that because of all of this that's happening.
Yes, there's certain stuffs and technique you have to do to ensure your pallet is strong. The nailing patterns into the wood, where you put in long nails, you must put in long nails everywhere where you can. In essence, the corner blocks we put in extra nails. There are certain pallets, for instance, the USA pallets that's got 2 slats next to each other, because when they in the cold storage, they like to make a train and push the pallets next to each other, and that just helps with that impact. So it's more secure.
And how valuable is the fact that CRI is so involved with you guys to make sure that things like that is done correctly?
There's been a lot of testing done for, I think, the last 4 to 5 years that CRI has been doing work with this University of Stellenbosch. There's a few master students that have done work, and they come and do some of their practical work with us. For instance, the strength testing, nailing patterns, and so forth.
Wow. But it obviously means a lot
Yes,
for the manufacturer to have those kind of knowledge involved in your business.
Yes, absolutely. Because if you just look at the bearer into the block, the one student said, just look at the nailing pattern. Let's put in an extra nail.
Yeah.
And it makes the pallet so much more secure. So there's some extra costs. It's a few cents on a pallet. But also the nailing pattern, just putting in that effort. A little bit of effort doesn't cost much, but the worth of it is so much more. It makes it so much better and stronger.
Okay.
Because also in the how they handle the pallet, if the forklifts take out their forks and they might nick a block.
Yes.
If the nails are too close to each other, the blocks might turn and the pallet might collapse easier. So that's very important.
Okay, so you mean if they're nailed too close together, it might form like a pivot point
Yes,
for
exactly.
for the actual block.
Yes.
Well, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yes.
And I think it's important to understand that there's a correlation between a stable pallet base and the rest of the cartons.
Okay.
If you can have the best cartons, you can pay 100 rand a box for the perfect carton. But if you put it on a pallet base, which is not correct, that can't support where the cartons are not placed on the correct spaces on the pallet with all the ventilation, everything, you're just wasting your money. So there's and that's why we're going into this trial this week to see how the boxes fit on the pallets and to make sure, are we still using the correct pallets, and do we get the value out of the pallets we're thinking we're getting? For example, we are using more and more of the purple block pallets, putting 21 pallets in a container, and that's something that only started 3-4 years ago.
What is a purple block?
A purple block is basically a smaller pallet. It's 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter smaller than the normal size pallets we use in the Western Cape. And we made the cartons a few mil smaller, not enough that you can't get the same amount of fruit. You still get the same amount of fruit, same amount of cartons.
Yeah, because it's packed and weighted, not
Packed
normally
per
by
weight. So we're doing it on open top cartons. But the open top cartons we're having a lot of success on. Putting 21 pallets, it's a big cost saver. It's working. Starting with a pallet, I think that's the main thing. We need to get the pallet right. We can't have the cold room struggling to get the 21st pallet into the container every time and banging it into each other just to make it fit. That's not the answer. So we're seeing what we can do about that as well.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a comment on the purple block. So from a CRI perspective, myself and Dr. Berry, we're concerned about the purple block because what we've seen from looking at container dimensions is that it doesn't always fit, and I'm sure Jaco can attest to that.
Is that sorry to interrupt you? Is it different container manufacturers with slightly different?
So it's not only different container manufacturers. It turns out, from what we understand, that no matter who the manufacturer is, a certain batch of containers from a certain manufacturer will have a certain internal dimension, and it will not be consistent with, or not necessarily consistent with the next batch.
Yeah, and John, I think the main difference is not the outside dimensions of the container.
It's
the internal,
it's
internal
the cooling
dimensions,
unit at the end of the container that takes up more or less space.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the people listening at the front of the container is your cooling unit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that depth of that unit varies every now and then.
Yeah, and how it's mounted.
So,
plays
for
a big
instance,
part,
one is using a BMW engine, other one is using a Mercedes engine.
and some are mounted on the outside, some are mounted on the inside.
Interesting.
But also we've been asking cold stores, we've been measuring containers. For instance, the one cold store said to us, they said that they probably have trouble with 1 in 7 purple block pallets. We do not recommend using A15C on purple block. And the reasons for that are firstly the weight issue, and then secondly also just generally A15C is packed with bulge, and as soon as you've got extra bulge, then you're going to have even more problems trying to get 21 into a container.
Again, for somebody that's not listening, that might not be as familiar with the terms. Bulge is when you slightly overpack the box. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, it's a bit more than slight.
Yeah, you need about 1 to 2 centimeters of the fruit sticking out at the top of the inner box.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you put the lid on. So it's always a bit of bulge. And what happens is, as soon as you put the weight of all the other boxes on top of that one, it starts to bulge to the sides as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the main issue.
That's your issue, yeah. So it's
Because
on
then
the
you've got
long
that
side of
pellets
the
rubbing
carton.
next to
Yeah.
each other when
Correct.
you try to fit them into the container.
So, and why this is the issue is because a lot of these containers get loaded at a cold storage facility in Cape Town or at a port,
Yeah,
Board,
at a
yeah.
board, yeah.
not just Cape Town. So from the farm, they get loaded on a tot liner and get shipped down there. So the guy loads his 21 pallets and says, well, they've got to make it fit wherever it goes. And then it gets there, they get a container that's size, and then what do they do with that pallet? It's not fitting.
Yeah.
Well, basically 2 things. They make it fit, which is
not ideal.
Ideal. Or they do have the option to take one out, and the exporter does have the option to rectify the documentation down to 20 pallets and just leave the pallet behind.
But that's extra time, extra
Yes.
cost.
Yes.
And then also that pallet stands there. Now, when is the next shipment going to come where that one might slot into? So what's the value of a pallet in monetary
Anywhere,
terms?
I'd say for a decent quality pallet, you depending on.
I'm not talking about a fully packed that you've got to now leave behind.
Probably almost 20,000 rand.
Jaco can probably answer that best.
I don't want to answer that.
No.
Depends.
It can vary, yes.
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
So you're gonna
It's worth a lot of money, and the thing is, it stays behind another week in the cold room at least to get to the next ship. So there's a lot of planning that does go wrong sometimes with the 21 pallet. It's still worth it. We decided early that we're not going to take a chance on the A15s, but there is a lot of guys that's doing it, and they say they don't have a lot of issues, and if it works for them, great. I don't want to take the chance, but with the open tops, it works fine, and in most containers, it does work fine. If we do have some pallets staying behind longer than they should, we will still do it. It's still worth it.
Okay.
But it's easy for us because we've got a lot of pallets in one cold room.
Yes.
So there's always other stock. It's easy.
Yeah.
There's other guys that doesn't have it.
As long as it goes to the same market.
Yeah,
the
so
same,
I think it's
for us, it works better.
okay.
yeah, it very much depends on the logistics and how it's working. Because in some places it can be a real issue.
So, Janno, why have you guys looked at investing in technology that could go towards plastic pallets? I know we spoke about plastic pallets last time, and there was a couple of things why.
Yeah, we have, yeah.
What innovations is coming in terms of pallets? Is it going to be wood and that's it?
I think in the near future, plastic, anything that's to do with plastic, you have to have a recycling program in place.
Okay.
So it has to be recycled at where it gets received or collected, which also carries additional costs. The product itself, a plastic pellet itself that will be strong enough to handle the fruit, especially in the racking system, is still very expensive. At least if I'm talking off the top of my head, but I think about 3 times more expensive than a timber pellet.
Okay.
So we're not there yet. So I think for the foreseeable future, we will still use timber pellets.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's more and more regulation coming into the EU, UK regarding plastic.
Yes.
And plastic packing material in general. There's already more questions being asked to exporters about the amount of plastic they use. So I think plastic pellets is a long way to go still.
And what about those? I know that you get packing boxes. I've seen it in avocado pack houses,
crates.
Crates. That is, what do you call it? you rent it or you transfer it, it gets sent back or it gets packed with something else being shipped back. Is that something that is available for pallets at the moment, or can it be done? Or then investing in something that's 3 times more expensive, but you can reuse it down the line, and the cost gets shared. Is that something that could happen in the future?
It's already happening.
It is already happening. We are actively working with some of the plastic manufacturing companies where, in fact, in our trial, we're going to have a few plastic pallets to just look at and see. From my perspective, looking holistically, I like to have options, especially, because we can't think of citrus growing in isolation. Other products are also growing in terms of exports and that will mean that there'll be more pressure put on our wooden pallet manufacturers to a point where we need whatever options we have. There are challenges, yes, but I think like the pool program. So, for instance, what they're doing with the bulk bins, they'll send a plastic bulk bin over, and it'll either come back or it gets reused or goes to a different country. That is an option, but obviously it won't. It's not mainstream, or anywhere close to mainstream yet.
Yeah, it definitely works, but there's still a lot of work that needs to go into the collection of the because we're sending the stuff all over the world. I mean, there's no specific collection point. If you go into Rotterdam, they're all over the place, all the different places that we offload fruit. So getting those stuff back and having it shipped back to South Africa, it's expensive.
Yeah, but there must be something in it to cover the cost.
At this stage, wood is still cheaper. Even though it's not cheap, it's not as expensive as plastics, and I think if as soon as that turns around and wood gets too expensive, I think people will start paying more attention to the plastic and seeing what systems can be put in place to make it work.
Is there, look, we've just before we started, we spoke about there's a couple of different, obviously the grape people and the serious people, they use different things. Yes. Could it get to a point where you can say, right, I've got for an open top carton, this pallet, for any type of telescopic box, I've got this pallet, and that is how it goes through the bank.
Ideal world.
Look, so
I'm asking the question.
Look, sorry, can I take this one? So in principle, that would be ideal. Because then we would custom design a pallet for a certain carton type, and we would all be very happy with that. The issue comes in terms of managing that in a pack house becomes sometimes very challenging, especially considering they're getting their cartons sent to them on pallets, so they're getting pallets that they can use for export from their suppliers. They're getting other pallets in from other places. Some markets want a chip. Some markets want a bomber. So now you're talking about a pack house having 5 or 6 different pallet designs on hand, ready to pack, depending on where it's going. And then the complication just escalates.
Isn't it like that at the moment?
Yes and no.
Yes and no, yeah.
Yes and no. So I have heard recently of a pallet that's now been designed just for bulk bins. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard of it.
Okay.
But that's exactly the point. So what we've always been trying to do is have a sort of a one pallet fits all for our 3 main carton types, which I think is still E10, E15Ds, and A15Cs. Although there is some talk about D15Ds and some other heights becoming more prominent, but they still have the same footprint.
Okay.
So what Dr. Berry has tried to do in terms of the ventole design is to keep the ventoles on a certain grid, which is like 100 mil spacing. And if we do that with our open tops and with our A15Cs, then we should, in theory, be able to have one pallet that kind of can fit those 3 carton designs quite well.
I think it's possible to do it in citrus, but I think the question you asked was, can you do it for citrus and grapes and stone fruit? They have the same.
Yeah, that would be challenging.
That will be challenging because if you look at the weights, citrus is quite heavy.
Yes.
And if you pack something like lemons, it gets very heavy. And the average citrus pallet is over-spec'd for versus grape. Grapes is not that heavy. They don't need to spend a lot of or the same amount of money to get this over-spec pallet for grapes. Okay. So it won't be worth for them, but I think there is maybe some of the Apple guys we can work together with other guys, and I think CRI is most probably doing more work on pallets than most of the other things, and I think we can share a lot of information in the near future.
Yeah. It's a strange thing. It's probably one of the most overlooked things. It's not a pretty thing unless you want to make a coffee table with it. But boxes normally have designs on them. People spend money on making a box look pretty because it's got to sell your product. But you've spent millions through your season to get the fruit to go into a pack house, then to pack it into a pretty box, and you put it on a pallet that doesn't last. That doesn't make sense. You should almost look at it from the back forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think also Janno's perspective on the standardizing a pallet for multiple products would be quite interesting.
Especially if you look at Apple pack houses at the moment, they use, I would say, a white block, a black block, a green block, a pink block. That's just export pallets, and then they get to the local pallets as well. So at a big apple and pear pack house, they can easily have 7 or 8 types of pallets.
But couldn't something like that, isn't a pallet like that that's already in existence a good replacement for the problem you might have with the purple
Well, that's
block?
why we started with that's how we started with the purple block in the first place. We got that from the grape guys. We saw what they were doing, putting 21 pallets in. We were looking at getting as much as possible 15 kg boxes in a container because we sell 15 kg boxes.
Correct.
And we couldn't get more boxes per pallet. So we moved took the idea from the grape guys and started with the purple block. And it works. I think we just need to sort out a few nicks here and there, and we'll have it sorted. Still early days actually for the system.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we are getting time to wrap up. Is there any message that you've got from CRI, and maybe you guys, like, especially him as a manufacturer, towards the industry for the rest of the season and going forward?
I think, as I said, from our side, I think we're in an interesting place in terms of the season, and as Jaco said, we're doing this trial now to look at the cartons and the pallets, and CRI will continue to research and develop and work with the manufacturers of the pallets and the exporters to find the best solution for our growers and for our pack houses, and that's our ultimate aim. So yeah.
The design is important. So you'd like to have a pallet as cheap as possible, but as strong as possible. So that's that fine balance of getting that in. The pallet should be, the design is extremely important. And that is a big part of the new designs that we're also going to test this week. Because it will work out a bit cheaper, but with that, it's also the ventilation, all of that to keep in mind.
Sure.
Yeah, I would say, I would ask the guys to go to the cold rooms.
Yeah.
And if they can, go to the markets where they sell the fruit. Go and see in the UK, go into that racking systems, all that moving systems they've got there. Go and look at your pallets or ask the guys for photos. Make sure that the pallet can stand the whole trip. And don't always look at the cost of a pallet to determine which one you buy. It's a recipe for disaster.
Goedkoop is duur koop.
Goedkoop is duur koop. Go pay that extra 10 rand for the pallet, whatever. And I'm not talking to you. No, don't raise the prices now. But we've been sticking to one pallet because we know it works.
Yeah.
Although I'm gonna test that theory again this week with the trials, you need go into the market and go and have a look.
Well, there's one group of exporters that they completely overdo it, but they just want to take no risks.
Yes.
It's a belt and kruisbanner. That's just the way they do it.
Well, it's rather safe than sorry.
Yeah.
It's you can't gamble, especially if you're an exporter or a packer exporter. You are gambling with the grower's money if you're not doing it correctly. If you're a grower, packer, exporter, you do everything yourself, then you can gamble with your own money. But as long as you, if you are going to be standing at the end of the line when something goes wrong, then you need to be aware of what it is.
Yeah, and I think it's also just the brand, and not just brand specific, but also South African brand. Like I said, our aim is that our pallets are the best. Our palletized loads are the best, and our fruit is the best. And we need to do everything we can to make sure that happens.
Yeah. We need to protect the program and the whole fruit industry. That's, for instance, even though for the USA market we've got the summer citrus program in place. For instance, if we send grapes or anything to the US market, we still use the USA pallet as per the summer citrus project.
Yes.
Because we need to protect the program. Because if the USA blocks us because of grapes that wasn't shipped correctly,
They're going to look at
then
citrus.
there's a whole citrus market that's also going to get blocked. So we have to protect our industry so carefully.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much. That is very interesting. I'm really looking forward to see what we're going to be doing in the next 2 days. And I'm glad to be part of it. And all the best for the rest of the season for everybody.
Thank you, Devil.
Thank you, Devil.
Thanks.
Thanks.